people are running around saying, wringing their hands, saying, oh my gosh, the world is so terrible. And this is just absolutely the end times. There's no question about it. And it absolutely has to come soon. When I hear people say that, and I've heard people actually say that the world right now is the worst it's ever been. Have you heard people say that? I've heard more than one. A lot of people say that recently. The world is the worst it's ever been. And I have to tell you that when I hear people say that, my response is, wow, I don't think these people have a very good understanding of history, of human history, because the world is absolutely not the worst it's ever been. I mean, maybe in our lifetimes, like how old are you? Like maybe 30, 40, 50, maybe in our lifetimes, in the past 10, maybe 20 years, maybe our lives are a little less comfortable than they were before. Maybe. But still, the way that we live, especially those of us in the West, I mean, we live this amazing, luxurious lifestyle. We have so much stuff. Most of us, we're not homeless. We're not hungry. We have these amazing houses. We got running water. We got electricity. We live like kings and queens. The quality of life that we enjoy right now, people, especially people in the West, is a quality, is a level that was unimaginable to most human beings who have ever lived in the whole history of humankind, And so it's just crazy that anybody could look around at the world today, especially in the West, and say that the world is worse now than it's ever been. Again, maybe it's a little less comfortable for us. Maybe, the economy has had some, been pretty bumpy and there are some concerning things happening in the world right now, but the worst that it's ever been. I mean, think about the first century Christians, like the early Christians. Do you have any idea the kind of persecution that they had to endure, the brutalities that they had to endure? The early Christians, the disciples, and then that first century Christians, they were persecuted. They were rounded up. They were imprisoned. They were tortured. They were burned alive. They were fed alive to lions. They were cut in two, sawed in two. They were boiled in oil. I'm sorry to be so graphic, but I want to make sure that you understand how terrible it was for the early Christians and the things that they had to endure. And yet the church continued to prosper and continued to grow despite horrific persecutions. Now I know that there are some countries today where Christians are imprisoned. Maybe they have to endure some sorts of torture, okay? But not like what was happening to the early Christians. So for the Christians, especially Christians in our country, it is so easy. We're not persecuted at all to be a Christian in our country right now. Now, I have actually experienced more persecution as a Christian for my faith than anybody else I know right now, well, almost anybody else, because I've had people go after my business and try to destroy my business because I believe in the gifts of the Holy Spirit. So, but you know what? That's nothing. I've never been imprisoned. I've never been beaten with rods the way Paul had to go through. So it's nothing. None of us can complain about what it's like to be a Christian right now in the world tonight, right now. And it's more than just Christians for Christians. If you look at all of humanity, the history of of humanity, things are so much easier now. Our lives are so luxurious. I mean, the lives that people had, think about the dark ages, the kind of lives that they had, they were so difficult. If you reach the age of 30, you were considered an old person. There were plagues that would come in and completely wipe out entire populations, and then in more recent history, like the World War I, things that humans endured during World War I, World War II, the Holocaust, the horrific brutalities that the Jewish people went through. So anyway, I'm going through all of this because I want you to please do not listen to all of these doomsayers and gloomsayers, because they are not correct. They are not correct. And I think part of it is lies from the enemy, trying to make us feel like we are losing, trying to make us feel despair. When honestly, I look around at the world today and I think it is like the best it's ever been. the best it's ever been. There's so much to be thankful for, so much. And so now I am aware that there is like this, there is this underground elites, underground secret societies that are trying to kill people and trying to enslave all of humanity. You know, I've been following 17 since the very beginning. So if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And if you don't worry about it. But I'm aware of all that stuff, and I believe that all that stuff is true. But you know what? There has always been this elite, this cabal that is trying to kill and enslave people. That started back in Cain and Abel in the Garden of Eden. You know, it has always been the truth. And you know what? A lot of times in the past, they didn't have to be in secret. They could kill people and enslave people out in the open. They didn't have to try to hide it. So the fact that a lot of this stuff is coming out now and being exposed, that's fantastic. The world is good. There is so much to be thankful for. So much. God is blessing us in amazing, amazing ways.